everybody. I believe we're live now, so hopefully we'll get a thumbs up from April, who's hosting us in the back here as our tech support. Welcome to Accessibility Talks. My name is Carrie Fisher, and I will be your host today. If you are new to Accessibility Talks, we're a monthly virtual meetup where we can chat about digital accessibility, inclusivity, and usability. And each month we invite a speaker and we have them come in, present a topic, or like last month we had a panel. So you never quite know what we're gonna do here, but that's kind of the fun of it. So here today, if you are interested in the live transcripts, you can find that pinned to the comments section in the live stream right now. And then we also have that pinned in the comments if you're watching later below the video. The URL here, I'll just say it out loud in case you need that, is called streamtext, streamtext.net, /player, event = A11yTalks, and Ali is spelled A11yTalks. I'd like to take one quick moment and remind everyone that our group seeks to provide a friendly, safe environment. We require all participants to adhere to the Accessibility Talks Code of Conduct. This applies to all community interaction and events, and also applies to verbal questions and chat and the text channels. The Code of Conduct can be found on our website, alitalks.com, and there should be also a link over there. All participants should be able to engage in productive dialogue and should share and learn with each other in an atmosphere of mutual respect. One quick shout out to our Alley Cat Club members. Thank you so much for your monthly financial contributions. You may see some familiar Alley Talks people on there, including myself, Amy June, Rahib, Andrew, April, and Steve. So we appreciate both our ongoing support and our one-time donations as well. It really helps us with the live transcripts and some other financial goals that we have. If you're interested in seeing your name on that list, you can visit our website and learn more about how you can help us obtain some of our priorities and some of the things that we're trying to do to support even more speakers in this space. If you have any questions for our speakers, of course, go to the comment section if you're watching live. Otherwise, you can find us on social media at Ali Talks, A11yTalks, or again, like type in the chat window. At the end of the presentation, we'll take some time for Q&A. So that was a lot of information. Without further ado, we're going to be talking today to Cezary and Tomczyk. Did I say that right? Cezary Tomczyk?
Yes, correct. Thank you.
You are the founder of SiteLint, and I was told that you are a man of no talents instead of a man of many talents. Is that true?
Well, yeah, I'm just passionately curious. It's like curiosity is driving my life. So I'm just, exploring possibilities. How does it work? That's how the science works. Experimenting, see if that things can be improved or not. So that's the only thing. If I have a talent, that's not me who should judge that. Maybe some other people could judge that, but I don't know. Let's see.
It sounds like you're more of a Renaissance man. So I'm really excited to hear your presentation. We're going to be talking about accessibility auto. How did you say that? How would you describe SiteLint?
A SiteLint is the platform that works, that does the audit on the client side. It means that it's reversing the process. So that's the only thing what it does in one sentence. But the magic is happening behind the scene, which I am going to tell you about that.
I cannot wait to hear about the IA next generation and automated testing. So I will relinquish the floor to you and come back for the Q&A at the end.
Yeah, sure. So shall I start? Okay. Can everybody hear me? Hello? Am I being here? Oh, okay. So let me just start talking about that and moving to the first slide. So it's this is the areas who we working on, and one of the things is the accessibility. So, but I just wanted to mention that a part of that we working also on the SEO, privacy, security, because those areas just overlapping each other. So that's the only thing I just wanted to mention at the beginning. Agenda. So 3 points actually. So this is all about user-centered accessibility that will be supported by AI, and at the end there will be actionable insights. So let's take a look at what is inside, and I will be talking about the particular solutions and how does that support actually accessibility. So first, accessibility is the user experience. We all know that, and many users, I just wanted to have their sites fully accessible. Mostly they don't know even how to do that. So the users want to have their sites accessible. That's really good. However, users expect an audit. So because they don't know much about that, they don't know about accessibility, it becomes even complex stuff around, and users need help. If they need help, so well, they're looking for someone who can help them to work and make their digital products and services accessible. So once they find it, uh, the one of the things they hear is the first thing: hey, give me a URL and I can scan your site or application, and then we can give you the reports. But the issue with that is that you're getting lots of reports from the unused pages, and that is crucial actually, because when they scanning your site, it becomes 10,000 pages, 20,000 pages, or I've seen even 50,000 pages. The thing is that we scanning all the pages that may potentially be even never visited by the users. So that means we've got a lot of extra work on that one. So first thing to remember is unused pages. And by that, total amount of work increases significantly, of course, because we're getting the pure data from all the scanning, and then you have to work through that. Even though half of the pages may not even be used within, for example, last quarter. So that's the first thing. So we say, okay, let's first eliminate the pages that are unused. So by that, we significantly reduce the total amount of the work, because if you think about it and you say, okay, the users are not visiting this page, this page, this page, it seems like at least 40-60% you can stop even working on it because nobody is visiting that. So in the next slide, in the next step is to ask the vendor to help to run the tests and automate the testing for your application or your website. The problem is next. However, all the automated tools may not be able to scan your app. And then that's what we see. Technically, it's called single page application. You may take any example in the world, for example, whiteboard collaboration. Try to scan this app. None of the vendor will be able to scan this app. So we are stuck, and there is a checkmate. We can't do this. Nothing can be done. So we can't use those solutions because we're using single page application. Everything loads once, and all the events and changes happening inside the application. None of the vendor right now can scan such type of the application. So at the end, so no audits, no reports, no monitoring, no real user data. So basically you are getting stuck only with, and all you can do is get only the manual testing. So why is it happening actually like that? So we're gonna need to step back a little bit historically. What happened there, where everything begins in the laboratory, means that we having applications, our solution is working on a server side, we giving the URL, and then those solutions are crawling our site and performing the audits on those sites. And that's good. That was good a couple of years ago, 5, 10 years ago. That was good. Things has changed over time. So when you go to the field, to the reality, on the other hand, while testing in the lab is the reasonable proxy for accessibility, it isn't necessarily reflective of how all users experience the site in the wild. So that's a fundamental difference. Right now, what we're scanning is just without any user interaction. There is no user. There's a pure scanning and saying, hey, you have the issues like that. That's it. So the accessibility actually of a site can vary dramatically when based on a user device capabilities, the network condition. It can also vary based on whether or how even a user is interacting with the page. And that is the fundamental difference. What is in right now on the market and what is the future. So the only way to truly know how your site performs for your users is to actually measure its accessibility as those users are loading and interacting with it. There is no better way because every user can load your site or your app and they're using in completely different scenarios. Some of them may just zoom it. Some of them have the mobile, tablet. There are many user scenarios where you should be testing with that. So not scanning, but on the client side. So next. But let's think about it a little bit. What we can do actually about that? How can we improve that? What we can do to make this automated testing even better, something that works for us, not we working for automated testing. So let's see. First thing, what do you say if we could audit only visited pages and reduce the reports counter? So what we've done at the beginning, that's the chart from one of the users that uses SiteLint. And we used a scanner for them. We were able to scan 23,000 pages. But then once we hooked the SiteLint and all the audits was done on the client side, means whenever your users are visiting your page, we reduced it to 9,000. As you can see, there's a huge difference, not to mention that we operating on the real data, not some things that is may potentially be used. No, it's all about happening on the user computer. So next, so we found that, okay, if the page didn't change since last time we made an audit, there's no point to make another audit. So less data, less work. So we relax. Next. This is the fundamental difference on what we have right now. On the left side, you see the current state on the market. So they say, give us website URL, we will scan, you have to set the parameters, how deep it will be scanning, how many pages, you have to define the digital assets. Oh, that's too much. That's headache. Brings only headache and a lot of work you need to do to even manage those data that coming from the scan. On the right side is the small little snippet. Remember Google Analytics, how it works. There's a small little snippet code you put on your site and it works whenever your user is visiting your page. So we reversed the action that happens now on the client side. So we auditing on the real users. And then we can also add the live interactions. For example, apply fixes. I know it may sound a little bit like overlay, but it's not overlay. Overlay is a different story. And we are not talking about the overlay right now. So auditing on the user side, this is the only way how you can test your app when the users start using that, not on the crawling. Crawling is the pure only moment when you just get the data and just get the pure audits from the tools you use. Next, we think that when you crawl all the site and you get lots of results, the question is where we should start actually fixing the issues. And everybody probably will tell you that you have to start fixing the issues from the issues that have the severity critical. That's great, but still it does not solve the problem that we're having thousands of pages. So in our case, we believe that the start fixing issues should be from that page that is mostly sending the reports from the users. So if I can tell you, for example, the page login is mostly used by the users, so start fixing the issues there, because that would be the best and a huge impact at the beginning, and most of the users will be benefiting from that right now. And this is the fundamental difference. Here we know which users are mostly visiting particular page, and that's the moment when you should start fixing the issues, because the impact will be immediate on the large amount of all the audience. So that is the fundamental difference. So next, this is a little bit technical, but today's day, the applications are having some dynamic changes. So the loading, the user performing actions, adding, for example, a product to the cart items, the page changes without reloading. And then how are you going to measure that? None of the tools can do that today. So we thought like, okay, how about we will be monitoring changes on the page. Once something's changed, we will evaluate again and send a report back to the platform so the platform can present the results. That is fantastic, right? So it means that the audits following the user behavior and the application behavior as well, because application may display notifications, may display any data that are coming from the server, anything may changes on the page. But none of the tool right now can do that, can even monitor that, because they loading as is. And today's day, there's a blank page. You can check even on the whiteboard. Take any top 3 applications on the market that delivers the services for the whiteboard. Try to scan them. It's impossible. Yeah, another problem that we wanted to solve was authentication flow. Whenever you want to scan something, let's say in the stage environment or development environment, you're gonna need to walk through the authentication flow. I've seen really lots of the approaches and struggling with the authentication flow. Hey, we have to write special code to be authenticated, to be able to scan. In that case, the problem does not exist, because the small little code snippet follows whatever action the user does. So that's, less work, good. What about monitoring? Well, currently everybody says like that. Hey, we have to set up our digital assets. We have to schedule the cadence. So now I'm asking the user, okay, you know what? We will be crawling your page or your site once per week or once per 2 weeks, and then you get all the data that will be coming from crawling all the pages. But we say we don't need that. We would like to have something that is living inside my application and it's following the users every time, 24 hours, 7 days, 365 days per year. Wouldn't be that better to having that and not worrying about scheduling options? Of course, sure. Then you don't have to worry about that. Whenever the user goes to your page, audits are done, results are sent to the platform. Great, less work. Next. Oh, that's, So you may ask about the sensitive data. Has anyone even asked yourself, like, okay, I'm scanning the sensitive data and they're landing somewhere? I know I heard many times something like, hey, we have the disk that is encrypted. That is not the same as removing the sensitive data. I remember in Apple, when I was at Apple a couple of years ago, there was a question. I was just raising the question, can we use that tool? And then the question is, does this tool sending any data to their server? And I said, well, no, sending or not sending, we can use. Sending, we can't use it. So in that case, we believe that in some cases, you want to remove all the sensitive data. Otherwise, nobody can guarantee that the data may not leak. So in that case, we believe that we open up the opportunities to use that solution for the places where there are sensitive data. insurances, banks, hospitals, and so on and so on and so forth. So, and next, this is really cool stuff. The most issue for the accessibility that is happening when we performing the audit is color contrast. So every single tool delivering the reports per element. So you have like 500 elements, a long list that says this is the color contrast issue, this is the color contrast issue. We've done differently. We collecting the issues and we saying, hey, your combination of this background color and this foreground color does not pass the color contrast. So we're not focusing on the elements, we're focusing on the background and foreground. So that's something different than what it is now. So it compress the results of the reports to really few only points, because if you change background or foreground to the level that it passes, you automatically will be fixing 500 elements as well. So that reduces and compressing the reports to the really minimum level, instead of having lots of the elements with the same repeatable data. Next, well, recording steps to reproduce. We were asking ourselves even, hey, how the user just even got to that situation, how the user even performed that action. So we thought, okay, we gotta need to record some last 10 steps where we can use that and reproduce to improve the product. So that is the thing, how we can better understand how our users are using particular services. You know, it's like when we always think like in a way that you have the one particular feature and the users will be using in the same way, everybody will be using the same way, while reality shows that it doesn't have to be that way as we think. So that's why we want to record steps to reproduce, to give that for engineers so they can reproduce the steps as the user does, and then we can see what kind of issues we have there. And the last point, we said we gotta need to have some details about devices. People are using really different devices. So if I can get this data, what kind of devices people are using, then obviously this will help me to even reroute my work to think about what kind of solution I need to deliver for them. So this is mobile, or they're using tablet, viewport size, and so on and so forth. There are lots of details that helps us to understand what kind of environment is mostly used by the users. That is the thing we just summarize based on our investigation. So yeah, we can say, yeah, we liked it. We liked all of those approaches because that makes automation testing a completely different perspective, reduces the total amount of the work and reduces the reporting and focusing only what is really belonging to the user usage, not just laboratory and crawling. So, but let's go further. This is just the summary of what is on the current market and what is on the SiteLint. We invented that. But you know what? This isn't the end. I'm going to talk about the artificial intelligence approach that we implemented. So when we implemented that way, we reduced the reports from 7,000 to 640. How does it happen? Well, the biggest challenge we've got during the automation testing was the false positives. As you know, there is a logo, and the logo does not require to be to passing the color contrast. So how do we actually manage that and not executing the rules for the particular parts of the app without manual work? Because right now you have the large amount of the reports, and then you have to manually mark this element, please skip, this is false positive, this is false positive. Ah, man. So if you have 7,000 reports like that, how are you going to manage those false positives? So what we thought is our opposite way. So in the code inside, you have a small little attribute that you can teach the platform and say, hey, don't evaluate the rule for color contrast for that. There's no need to do that. See? So now we are in a safe zone. Once you put the attribute, you can even shift your code within the page. In this place, doesn't matter, because what does matter is the little attribute that indicates that you don't have to evaluate the color contrast for this particular element. So there is no need to worry about code shifting. You can ask anybody you want that uses the current solutions, that if they mark the element as false positive and then somebody is shifting to the other place, what happened there? What happened there? The other thing that we were exploring is the technology we called FTB, follow the user and app behavior. So when the app is already running on the user side, what's happening there? The user is performing the actions. They adding this, doing this, from the menu, selecting the other options. Everything is happening within one page. So wouldn't it be better if we could just follow the user, what the user does, and whatever changes is, and then performing audit? The user make a changes, performing audit. See, it's like automatically everything, what the user does, the audit just follows that. That would be awesome. So we don't have to work and perform any manual work. It's just the audit that sits embedded into your application and just follows the users. The last part that we we thought about that, like, how about if we don't perform any audits, if nothing has changed since the last time? It's like, why do I need to crawl your site 20,000 pages every 2 weeks when nothing has changed on the 95% of the pages? There's no need to do that. So we build the algorithm that tells the platform, hey, nothing has changed. We don't have to perform any audits. There is no reports. Great, less work. We don't have to worry about that. So we're reducing the noise of the reports to the really, really low level. And then you see, instead of 23,000 of reports, we're getting only finally 640 reports. So by that, also conformance measurement complexity has been improved, because we doing by component or custom defined range. We don't do that right now, because we measuring per page. We believe that what is being done before something's going to production is great, but we prefer to work with the client side. So once you're doing per component or custom defined range, because you can scan your page only for footer, your conformance measurement differs. So managing false positives and dynamic changes also may impact on the conformance measurement, because the content changes live once the user interacts with your page, and scoring base is on the real user usage instead of the crawled data. So yeah, we focusing on the what is actually being used, not what is being scanned. This actually, when we thought about it, this just opened a lot of opportunities for us, means live interactions. So we thought, we've got even questions. Can I apply a temporary fix, for example, for the color contrast? Yes, you could. So when you're interacting with the users live, you can provide a lot of more features, because when you're scanning on the server side, you are not interacting with any users. So that's fantastic opportunities for the future. So we can start interacting with the users, even provide the features beyond the audit itself. You can just provide features that helps the users to interact with the page. That's possible. The way how it's done today, there is no way to teach the platforms using AI algorithms, because AI algorithm we have today is just based, they are based on what is being actually used on the user side. So the user is performing, sending the data to the platform. So that is the another opportunities that came up when we started working on the AI stuff. Privacy and security, that's also things that was missing in many places. We believe, like I said before, we really need to have the ability to avoiding storing sensitive data. And retention policy is something that we just have a 3 months retention policy for our security, and for your security, we're removing the data after 3 months. So that is okay. And we don't want to store the data unless it is necessary. So the future. So right now, we will see the future that we will be able to test the UI design before it gets to the code pipeline even. So that will be nice to determine the color contrast and the other issues, and drive actually the designers from the accessibility perspective, so they can even have some things that will be embedded into their process, so they can get the feedbacks right. We're working already on some things that is called content to speech. And I know people may say, hey, but these are lots of tools that can convert text to the speech. But the thing is that what we want to do is we want to have the page and prepare the content like the screen reader does. So not some just text, but also the way how the code is being described, means that if there is a list, table, everything needs to be there. So based on the screen reader tree, and this could open up another opportunities for people that want to only hear, but don't want to use the screen reader, or they cannot use even the screen reader. And the last part is to, we believe that getting feedback from the users without any external app would be very helpful. So we invented the possibilities. You can send an email, the user can click, select the tab, and then may record his activity and send back this to us, so we can investigate what's going on without any installation. That's part also about the accessibility, because so many people are using in a very different way the site, and we want to understand what's going on, especially when we want to fix the issue. So summary. So we believe that we're focusing on auditing accessibility on the real users is the only way how you can truly understand how your product is being used. We wanted to manage the false positives, reduce them because there are lots of false positives, focus on the usage, monitoring, some things also that works for you when you sleep. You don't have to crawl anything. It's just some things that works within your app. And use AI to improve the remediation process. I know the remediation process is usually, in most cases, is a really challenge, because we're getting a lot of the data. We gotta need to deal with it. So that's the thing that AI may help us, and we want to improve that algorithms in the future as well, to reduce the total amount of the work. That is not some things that helps us to improve the product. All right, that is the Q&A. I'm ready and open to answer all of the questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Cezar. We do have a few questions, and I encourage everyone who's watching the live stream, if you have questions, to add that, and we can highlight those as well. So some of the questions that we're seeing from the Twitter space and other social media, I can pop those in here. So the first one, we wanted to ask, what percentage of accessibility errors do you think that this AI-focused tool is catching versus maybe the more traditional automated tools?
Oh, it's not about even the catching issues. It's about the way how you performing the audits. It's because, you know, like I said, if you have the rule for the color contrast, you don't have to evaluate. If you tell the platform, hey, don't evaluate the rules. So it's not about percentage of errors we can reduce, but percentage of the reports that are being sent to the platform. So one is that you teach the platform how this needs to be evaluated, and the second thing, you don't evaluate when there were no changes since the last time. And that means that you don't produce the reports that you were just looking at it 2 weeks ago. So there is no need to walk through the same. So that's why you see the thing, the more audits are being run over time, the less reports are there. So you see, so instead of 20,000, I got already 2,000, which means, oh, wow, this is what I need actually to focus on. So you don't have to perform the same over and over the same work based on the same reports that are coming to your platform.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good question. So it learns essentially as the more you do it. is
Yeah,
what I'm
exactly.
hearing you say.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. The platform is learning from your side, because you can tell, like to my child, I'm saying do this, do that. You don't have to do this. So, and then you see the results. Once you start teaching the platform remembers that and not evaluating something that you don't want to be evaluated. So that's great, reducing total amount of the noise to like 90%.
Yeah, and I think this kind of follows into the next question a little bit better, kind of a flow here. So can you add additional manual accessibility testing errors that the SiteLint report found by the tester? Or is it all about automated testing?
Oh, there is already, and I did not mention that, but I thought that the manual testing should also be improved. Means in a way that where there are checklists. You know, when there is an airplane, my mentor said, like, I asked one time, how do you manage planes? That is always good, and he said, because all the engineers have the checklist and they following the checklist. So we've created the checklist, and now you can select the points you want to test, and you create your manual audit. That way, I can see what you're doing. I can see the managers can do. Everybody can see it. So you build your checklist, and following the checklist, you can even mark done, 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 not applicable, done. Okay, done. So you can do this once per month, and then you are done. But it's highly flexible, and it's separated from the automated testing. So it well organized the work, by the way, because you are flexible. You don't use the Excel. You don't have to stress the clients as well, because they see really a lot of points. Here you can build the list that is flexible. Not to mention that many times not all the success criteria applies to all the sites. So people may say that we evaluated, and half of those success criteria are not applicable to your site, so we don't have to evaluate. So the total amount of the manual testing is reduced at about 50%, for example, and that's happening actually every day.
That makes a lot of sense. We just got a question that kind of relates to that as well from Rahib. Are you granting the AI robot a key access for sites, or is that for any site, or access token and time stream? Is that
Oh
one
yeah,
that you can answer?
that's a good question. So normally I'm trying to explain by comparison. So normally what you need to do, every platform asks you to set up the digital assets. You have to specify the domain, how deep you want to scan, and so on and so forth. In our case, I was just thinking time ago, how about I will use one token that you can use as a key that opens the door. So once you put the token to the site, you can put anywhere that token. So we started gathering the data based on the token. Wow, that was improvement, because we don't have to spend time to setting up the digital assets. That was the main problem in the past, that people were saying, hey, can we scan the subdomain? Can we scan this? Can we scan this URL? Oh, it's not part of your configuration. Right now, when we added only token, it's fantastic. It started like people started using only token, and it was using on development and stage, production, subdomain, not subdomain, slash this. No, until the token is there, we saying, okay, who's talking to me? Oh, Carrie Fisher is talking. All right, okay, this is your place. What's your report? Report's coming. I'm just writing the reports, and that's it. So token is the identifier. So it significantly improves and reducing the total amount of work you need to spend to set up your actually platform for the crawling. Here is the token, just token.
Yeah, and I think that answered Rahib's second or follow-up question, making sure that there's access to dev and access to test and production.
Yeah,
I think I heard
yeah.
you say that you could do all of those and more.
Yeah, you can create as much as you want tokens. Every token is unique. So the thread is as a key. So this key opens the door to this, open this door to this. So that's it. Easy as is. Unless that you remove even the token from the platform, everything is fine, and you can easily manage it by the token. Stop thinking about the digital assets in terms of the domains or paths, and start thinking about the token, just token.
Yeah, and I wonder if this has already kind of been answered by that conversation, but is this based in client-side JavaScript? And if so, what happens if it's disabled by the user?
Excellent question. I was just expecting that question. Obviously, it's based on the JavaScript, and I shouldn't say maybe that, but 1990 to 90% people are using this JavaScript, and it doesn't mean we don't want we care about the people that don't use or don't have no possibilities even to use JavaScript. But I think it's a next evolution of the product. So we can't do this everything at once. But I know I am aware of that. I was always even advocating, hey, if your solution doesn't work on without JavaScript, then I don't like it. Okay, so I know about it. It's just about the first step is the JavaScript, and the next step will be potentially supporting without JavaScript. It's a tough case, but I'm not saying it's not possible.
Yeah, I know a lot of us tech nerds, we like to disable all the things that are tracking us and using it. So kind of related to that is this question around cookies and time, load time of the page.
Okay, so
Is this something that's a factor? Is this something you considered?
yeah, that is excellent question as well. So it does not require cookies. We don't use cookies for anything. Does it increase the load time of the page? No. In general, I'm always recommending to load this with the delay, 3.5 seconds, because that's the thing that you don't have to run immediately. But once it's embedded into the page, I can assure you we were paying attention to the performance. So right now, 120 rules are being executed mostly in 200 milliseconds. So it's not possible to even notice that something was running behind the scene. But if there will be someone who says, hey, come on, to even 200 milliseconds is too slow. Okay, there is another option. It means asynchronous, means that we are able to run every single rule in a way that it allows the browser to not block the UI. So the user can still use the UI while in the background, the tests are being executed. So that's fantastic. So you don't have to do anything. Yeah, performance is really, really crucial here.
And this is a question kind of my own, based on what you were just saying. Is this something that most clients that you work with right now are using on production sites, or because of some of these other concerns that we talked about, they're doing it more on their devs or staging sites?
They use on production. We actually there were quite interesting cases when I was reporting, and I'm hearing that quite often from the users. How the user even get to that situation? I said, I don't know. We just get the reports. So this is amazing. When you hear that, you're discovering a lot of things that weren't even visible before. So and then you're reporting and say, hey, we gotta need to fix it. Oh, we forgot about that. All right, okay, let me just fix it. So no matter of how many tests you write, which I value the automated testing before even to goes to production, the problem is that you will never be able to cover all the potential combinations of how the application works and how the users are using your app. So instead of that, I thought, okay, let me just create something that works for me. I don't want to work for someone. Then that thing will work for me. So now it's embedded. So at the beginning, of course, everybody was a little bit afraid and say, oh, maybe this will impact on my performance, loading. No. But we were proving for them, hey, use that seed. And since that time, people are now convinced that something that is embedding, it's for the goods. We want to help them. We want to help them to understand how people are truly using the product. And in the future, even, we will be able to determine if the people prefers high contrast mode, if they're using zoom, if they're zooming, if not zooming. This is the crucial part for the future. So once you get this data, I can go to you, Cary, and then I can say, you know what, 7% of the users prefers to zoom to the 400%. So that's something, right? So we gotta need to think about it like this is very important. You won't be able to measure that if you're doing the audits on the server side, because the server side is a laboratory. We want to go to the field. We want to understand really how the users are using our product. So yeah, we've got a lots of interesting reports. I was even surprised, when you're building something, you're embedding, and then millions of people are using, and then wow, that is really cool.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I kind of see a roundabout way of using this kind of information for usability and UX, and further studies, maybe with actual users that are disabled, for instance, in the traditional sense of how you would conduct those kinds of user-centric kind of studies. So I think this is kind of it's interesting, right? It's touching on a lot of different things that a lot of automated tools aren't really doing these days. So, and yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is actually like that. When we started gathering the data, I was feeling a little bit like in the ancient Egypt. So I see hieroglyphs, and I see all of them, but I don't understand them. So now we're getting a lot of data, and now the next step is to process this data and understand what's actually happening, why the users is doing, and what is it happening like that, and why they doing. We can even emulate this because we know what they're using, this device, this device. And once we understand that, this is the only way how we can improve the product. The rest is just a guess, but it's okay. I'm saying whatever was built in the past, it was built with the best knowledge at this point, and that's the evolution. We are now on the stage next, and we're bringing the audits on the client side. What's the next stage will be? I don't know. Who knows? Automatic fixes.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great. I
Oh
know a
well,
lot of clients I work with
we've got the
like
requests,
that.
interesting
Yeah.
requests recently, and the one person said, can I click on this button and the color contrast will be fixed? I said, you know what? Not yet, but it's possible. It's possible. Okay, but don't mess up with your site because people will start fixing, and then hey, this is temporary. Don't do that. Just temporary maybe, but don't do that.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I have, like I was saying, like a lot of clients that do want that. They do want to press a button, figure out what all the issues are, then press a different button and fix them all. And I think that could be a future of some of the, at least the easy automated checking, hex on hex, like you mentioned, color contrast. But of course, there's a whole wide gamut of manual tests and AT tests that quite aren't covered. But that is the dream that we can automate some of these things.
Yeah, some of the issues can be done, but it reminds me overlay, which we all hate the overlays because they don't do anything actually good. They ruins the sites. But anyway, in that case, I'm just approaching that in the other way around. Like we can fix it, but people needs to be aware what they're doing. So if you're fixing color contrast, great, put that, and then you see how it works before you even put it to life. So that approach will be evolving. I'm not saying it's perfect, but since I got the request, we gotta need to think about that like a scientist. So take it and think about it.
Makes sense. I think we have a couple minutes left. We can ask the last couple questions. So the one we got from social media, I see that the SiteLint has a WordPress plugin. Are there plans to support any other CMSs in the future?
Yes, plans are always there. Depends on the capabilities, but if someone wants to join and help, who knows? Why not? We are very open. We want to support anything. But actually, we did this for WordPress, but because it's so popular. But you don't have to even wait for anything. You can use this actually right now. We wanted to avoid the moment when people say, "Hey, I don't know how to install this." Okay, go to the WordPress directory, type SiteLint, hit enter, done. It's installed. So that's the only thing. There is no difference if you use directly, if you use the WordPress plugin. It's just about to make the installation process easier.
All right, that's a good answer there. So we have another one from the chat from Geraldo. Given the current privacy requests, do you think your approach is valid in an opt-on or on-demand user monitoring scenario?
I think it's valid. Why not? It's just there is an option. You can remove or sensitive data, or you don't have to remove this sensitive data because sometimes it may be helpful. For example, you have the paragraph, but if you remove the sensitive data, it will be empty. So may not be super helpful. But I just wanted to leave the people choice. I don't want to impose anything. You have the choice. You can do this, but you don't have to.
Sorry, and then he followed up with opt-in. Sorry, so I don't know if that changes your
That's
answer or not.
no,
Okay.
no. It's a fine. It doesn't change it's still valid. Like you can use it, but you don't have to use it. I like freedom.
Makes sense. All right, and again, apologies if I say any of your names incorrectly. I am trying, but Rashimi, I hope I said that right, asked the question, do the reports also pick up data from assistive technologies that the user use?
Oh, well, we don't have the access to the data because of the privacy. There is still debate within the World Wide Web Consortium and how to do that actually. There was an idea to do that to open, but then there was a voice, hey, it's violate the privacy, you don't want to monitor this and that. But maybe in the future we will do this differently. So since we don't have the access, but some of the things are available. For example, I can know if the user prefers the high contrast mode. So this is something that we can get the data right now. So whatever it's possible, we're gathering, but we don't know which one. However, what we can do in the future, since we working on the client side, we can ask the user just what kind of tool you're using. That it's like, I'm not talking about the details how this should look, but we can always ask the users. Many users are really open to tell you what kind of tools they're using, and then you can gather these informations from the users directly. So that's what we think we could do at this point, gently asking them.
I was going to say, I think that would be a tricky one, even if the technology existed. I think some people would not be necessarily happy with that information that's being
Yes.
gathered for privacy reasons. Yeah.
That's why
So,
we just need to wait.
Yeah. So the follow-up from Rashmi was, so there's still a good reason to test with real users. So I would
Oh,
say
yes.
probably yes.
Oh,
Always.
definitely. I was shocked when I was seeing what kind of the outputs we have from the audits when we start working in the field, means on the user side. So that is the moment when we discovered a lot of things, and the backlog started growing because of this and that. So there is really interesting case. So as you can see, sometimes in our life we can do the same thing but in a different way, and we get the different results. So no server side, client side, and then, oh wow, we now know a little much more about our users than about what is happening on the server side.
That makes sense. All right, we don't really have time for the last question for you to actually do it, but if someone's interested in learning more about the product, how do they get information about a demo?
Well, they can send me email, and we can schedule a meeting, and then I can present everything. And by the way, next week I'll be on CSUN as well. So if someone wants, just pop in, and then I will be happy to show you how it works and the modern technologies, how it is done, and all the details. I'm very open to tell you how it works. We are all here to help other people. And at some point, we will need that help as well. So we're building for ourselves somewhat.
Always building for our future selves, that's for
Yes.
sure. This is really great. It's been really informative, and we got to learn a lot about how AI is being utilized in the space that, and we're all a little protective of it and passionate of it as well. So this concept that it feels like you're thinking about all of these things and thinking about the users and thinking about privacy and other factors. So it's really, I'm optimistic. I can't wait to see what the future holds. And if I could do one less audit, that would be great. If this tool could carry some of that load for me, and I don't have to do it, that frees me up for more things that I am passionate about in terms of accessibility. So myself and people like me, we're happy for new tools, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for presenting today.
Thank you very much.
All right. So just again, thank you, Cezary, for giving us that interesting talk. Lots of questions that came in. If you have any follow-up questions, you can find us again in the Twitter space and on Mastodon. And we should have also some contact information in the chat for him as well. So, and at CSUN, he'll be there. So find him in the hallway and ask him to demo the product if you're interested in learning more. Coming up in April, we're going to be talking about shifting left and CMS accessibility by one of the greats, Hide. I always say his name wrong too, so apologies again. Like I really need some tutorials on how to say people's names, but he'll be speaking on April 12th at 1 p.m. If you don't know of him already, Google him as well. He is a wealth of knowledge, and I learn something every day from every single blog I read from him. So I'm very excited to see him speak as well. And speaking of speakers, we're always looking for new voices in accessibility community. Maybe it's something you want to demo like we saw today, or talk about, a new tool. Maybe just your experience, right? Your experience as a person with a disability, or your experience as somebody in the space. You don't have to be an expert in anything, right? You can be brand new to accessibility as well, and just give us your perspective, because I think that's also valuable for people to hear that as well. We make a conscious effort to include marginalized groups when you can in our speaker lineup. And again, if you have any ways and ideas to make accessibility talks more friendly to all, you can contact us as well. Follow, subscribe. There's a bunch of links here. Hopefully my tech help April today will help put all these up here, but we've got a lot of different places where you can follow us and subscribe to different feeds. And of course, joining the Alley Cat Club, if you're interested, you can find out that information there as well. So again, thank you so much for your presentation today, and look forward to seeing you all at next month's Accessibility Talks. Until then, take care.